Hello, it's Mrs. Mills, your English instructor for American literature, and I'm here to transition you from Transcendentalism to the next set of pieces that we're going to read from Poe and Hawthorne. And in this mix, we're going to study the literary element of Romanticism, and you'll see that when you read that PowerPoint, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So we're going from Thoreau. This is my Thoreau coffee cup. I absolutely love it, and I picked it up in Massachusetts on a vacation to the New England area when I was searching for literary historic landmarks. I saw Emerson's grave, Thoreau's grave, Emerson's house, Walden Pond. It was very, very, very cool. So I encourage anybody, if you've never been up to the New England area, to get up there. But this is my awesome coffee cup, and as you can see, that is a Thoreauism. And I really hope you enjoyed Emerson and Thoreau. And there's one more thing I want to show you. This is a replica, not the real one, obviously. This is a replica of Thoreau's home. A student did this. She put this together to mimic Thoreau's home on Walden Pond. I thought this was very creative and interesting. See, there's furniture in the house. And there's firewood in the shed. So, again, I do hope that you enjoyed your study of Transcendentalism, not only as a literary movement, but also a historical movement. You'll find Transcendentalism in most American history books. So again, we're going to go on to Romanticism with Edgar Allan Poe. This is my little Edgar. I picked him up in Baltimore at an Edgar Allan Poe museum, and he travels with me when I do Edgar Allan Poe class. So little Edgar hopes that you'll enjoy his stories. All right. Speaking of Poe stories, in this class we're just going to look at two: The Fall of the House of Usher and The Cask of Amontillado. Now, if you're really interested in Poe, you can always find some anthology of Poe's works. You can purchase one. They're all over the internet. They're all over bookstores. It's not hard to find an anthology. Or you can go to a library to check one out. Edgar Allan Poe is a great American author, and he has a ton of great stories. William Wilson, The Masque of the Red Death, and other poetry like The Raven and Annabel Lee are classics. And you have to do a literary paper, a research article, and other things in this class, so you can focus some of this around Edgar Allan Poe. So if you're interested, look to Edgar Allan Poe to satisfy those requirements. And again, a lot of people find him interesting. We'll talk about him a little bit later too. The second major piece you're going to read is from Nathaniel Hawthorne. We're going to read Young Goodman Brown from Hawthorne. And Hawthorne has a very interesting family line. If you research his family line, his grandfather, I'm pretty sure it's his grandfather, John Hawthorne, was a judge in the Salem witch trials. Now, John Hawthorne did not have the W in the Hawthorne name. Nathaniel Hawthorne added the W later on because he was kind of embarrassed about what his family did in Salem at that time. Young Goodman Brown is a great piece dealing with religion, dreams, and personal salvation. So when you read this, read in depth. It's a really, really, really good piece. All right, I got my cheat sheet here. Let's talk a little bit about what you're going to be doing in this section of the class. We're going to look at Romanticism. Now, I need you to read that PowerPoint. I highly encourage you to print it out. All right. Romantic literature has a distinct characteristic. Let me get my board. And you've read this on the PowerPoint. There we go. Romanticism emphasizes plot, action, and setting rather than character development. And as you've noticed in this week's assignments, you have a blog incorporating Hawthorne and Poe. And it asks you to talk about the concept of the unreliable narrator. Okay? Romanticism, let's look at this again. It emphasizes plot, action and setting rather than character development. You're not going to know anything about young Goodman Brown. You don't know a lot about his background. The narrator in The Fall of the House of Usher, you really don't know a lot about him, other than the fact that he goes and visits his friends, Madeline and Roderick. Same thing with Madeline and Roderick. You don't know a lot about him. You know what's happening in the moment with Madeline, Roderick, and young Goodman Brown, but you don't really know their background. And those authors, Poe and Hawthorne, did that on purpose because they want you to think. Yes. Let's throw in Amontillado. When you read The Cask of Amontillado, you really don't know a lot about Montresor or Fortunato. You know what's going on in the moment, but you don't know what's happened in their past. Okay? So when you read these pieces, you're not supposed to know a lot about the character. That's for you to decide. Hawthorne and Poe are going to set you up tremendously with the setting and the plot and the sequence. You're going to have no problem understanding the pieces from start to finish. Your job is to look into the characters a little bit more deeply, all right? These authors did this on purpose. Let me get my cheat sheet again. Back in the 1800s, the 19th century, citizens did not have a lot of the entertainment technology that we have today. We have TVs, radio, iPods, movies, IMAX. We can go on the internet. We have tons and tons and tons of entertainment through technology. Back during this time, of course, as you know, people didn't have access to the technologies we do today. So what did they do for entertainment? They read stories and then they talked about them. That was their form of going to a movie or listening to a radio show or watching a television show. All right? Edgar Allan Poe, here he is again, made, well, I don't want to say that he did, but a lot of his pieces were made into graphic novels. Now, this is a Beowulf, but I just wanted to show you an example of a graphic novel. A lot of Poe's pieces were made into graphic novels because in the 19th century, a lot of people could not read. All right? So publishers and artists put Poe's stories together in the form of pictures. So pretty much everybody could digest and get the gist of a Poe story. And that was really, really cool. And then even the people who couldn't read could sit around and talk about Poe and his works. So, Romanticism and these stories generate a lot of unanswered questions. So as you read, you'll probably be thinking, wait, did I miss something? Or wait, what did the author mean to say here? And it's perfectly acceptable because Hawthorne and Poe were aiming to entertain the masses and have those lingering questions for readers. So the readers could generate a discussion or an argument or a friendly book talk about their pieces because, again, entertainment back in the 19th century is a lot different than entertainment in the 21st century. All right, so just remember that. There's going to be a lot of unanswered questions, and think about the unreliable narrator in these pieces that you read. Also, think about Hawthorne and Poe's personal life, all right? In the Edgar Allan Poe PowerPoint that I gave you, it generates a lot of information about his biography. And just as I told you with Hawthorne, he has a very interesting family history as well. And those biographical elements are seen in their pieces, all right? And before I leave you to think and read and discuss Hawthorne and Poe, I want to leave you with a couple of pieces of artwork. Here's a piece of artwork. I'm sorry about the glare, from a student. Isn't that cool? And one more. Here's a raven. So, sorry about the glare, guys. Have a great day and enjoy Hawthorne and Poe and think.